Morning. Bill Kim. I pastor the Congregational and the Presbyterian churches here in Clarion, Iowa. My friend Mr. Bunn behind the camera and I have been working on for a number of weeks now these little 2 or 3 minute summations about the sermon. I guess I remember my time in the pew and wishing sometimes that the preacher would talk for 2 or 3 minutes instead of how long they sometimes talk for. So, in summarizing, we are still in John chapter 6. We're still connected to John 6:35, which says this: Then Jesus declared, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will never go hungry, and he who believes in me will never be thirsty. And throughout the reading for today and the 6th chapter of John, Jesus is still dealing with the people and their misunderstanding about who he was and what he was calling them to. At one point, the people just know that Jesus can't be the bread from heaven. They just know that Jesus can't be connected to God because he's Mary and Joseph's boy and he lived right down the block, right? Our conversation at church today was about how really it's not the things that we don't know that get us in trouble. It's the things that we think we know that are not so. I think that's a quote, something like that, from Samuel Clemens, from Mark Twain. At the end of the conversation that Jesus has today with the people, he says these words: This bread is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. So for us, the conclusion is that sometimes when we think about Jesus being the bread of life, we think about having our needs met, about being filled up, about being strengthened, or whatever, with the very presence of God. And that is all a positive, good experience, and we should celebrate that. But Jesus is pretty clear at the end of his conversation today is that he's the bread of life. It's his flesh that he's going to give up for the good of the world. So he's talking about the cross. He's talking about the sacrifice that he's headed to. If he's talking about the cross and the sacrifice for himself, he's also talking about the cross and the sacrifice for us. We are called to consume Jesus Christ, to be consumed by Jesus Christ. But that happens so that we can be like Christ. To be like Christ means, at least partially, that we sacrifice ourselves for the world, that we give ourselves for our neighbors. It's not about me, it's about others, what they might need, introducing them to God, helping them get some food on their table, whatever we think about. Sacrifice. Not always an easy topic, but always a call for us as God's children to sacrifice ourselves for the world, to do what we can to help others encounter God and have their needs met. May that be a reminder for us this week. Amen.